the past 9 or maybe 15 years, never wasted a minute. Like my whole thing was, you are great, you can do great, just do as much as you can. But that's what I'm saying. I didn't have a one-to-one mentor to guide me what to do, what is the most efficient, straightforward way. I had to do all this training by myself. If I go back to 10 years ago, I would spend the same amount of time, same amount of ambition, same amount of energy, but with a one-to-one mentor or coach. That's what I would change.
Welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Fight Club podcast. Today, we're in the Champions Corner and thrilled to have Naeem Farokhnia join us. Naeem's story is an inspiring one of resilience, adaptability, and ambition, and we are excited to explore it with him.
Naeem's background is remarkable. Originally an electrical engineer, Naeem quickly realized the corporate world wasn't the right fit for him. Despite early successes, including his time in Apple, Naeem's entrepreneurial spirit led him to transition into property management and now multifamily real estate.
And along the way, Naeem's determination to constantly learn and improve has been his driving force. He shares his experiences of navigating career transitions, finding the right mentors, and even reinventing himself as a capital fundraiser in the multifamily investing space.
Naeem also dives into the importance of mentorship, especially for immigrants, and how focusing on the right relationships can make all the difference. He shares strategies on building an investor base, aligning with strong partners, and using real estate to create freedom and opportunity.
This is an insightful conversation and full of actionable advice and inspiration. So let's dive in and hear from Naeem Farokhnia.
Let's get started.
Naeem Farokhnia, welcome to the Cashflow Fight Club podcast. We're happy you joined us today. We're looking for a fun conversation.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You did a great job on pronouncing my family name. It was really good.
Good. Yeah. Well,
I'm impressed.
good coaching on your side. I appreciate it.
999 people out of 1,000, they don't pronounce it. So I think you're the first one, to be honest with you.
Wow. I'm honored. Okay, then. I'm glad I went for it. This will be fun. You have a great background, a lot of room to cover here. Like we talked about, I'd love to explore a little bit your early life and some of the transitions you've made, because I think a lot of people, us included, and people that we talk to, do make several transitions in life, and those can be hard to navigate. And so I think that's a great topic to explore. We also touched on, in that process, we a lot of times we find mentorships and coaching. And so we can talk about different mentorship programs and how to go about selecting those and optimizing those, and then finish up with a little real estate. Yeah, maybe let's jump right in. Give us a short background, an overview of who Naeem is.
Yeah. So always been a logical person, good with math and equation. Then naturally got into engineering and then electrical engineer, and then worked for 6 companies, none of which I was happy and to work. I'm really not happy working in a queue, having a manager tells me what to do, what not to do. So in my graduate school, I think the best experience that I had was a leadership experience. I had 11 students working with me, and then we published a lot of papers. We were working like from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. almost every day. That, although we were working hard, but I was happy. That was who I was. And then I was happy. My soul was happy. I posted LinkedIn a few days ago talking about operating points, like the car. They have a certain speed that they are happy with. Like it's not 120 miles an hour. It's not 20 miles an hour. Yeah. It's around 60 miles an hour. And when the machine changes, it's a train or aircraft, spacecraft, they have different speed, they have different load. Same analogy you can somehow use for human. Like what is each person's operating point? We are not talking about exactly the definite definition of that, but we know what kind of people we are comfortable to hang out with. Yeah. And there is a pattern between our friends. If you just put all your close friends over 30, 40 years, you will see some sort of personality type that you usually get along with. Same thing with work environment. What kind of work environment? Do you really need someone to tell you what to do, what not to do? Do you really need to be leader? Just take the ownership, and then that's where your brain is the best. And then you are fired up every day. That's how I found about myself in my grad. I was doing like 10 times more than what my advisor asked me to do, but I was fired up. I loved what I was doing. No one told me what to do. And that itself helped me to just do 10 times more than other students. And I published around like 49 papers in my master and PhD degree, which was a record. I finished my PhD in 2 years and a half, which was another record. No one did that. So that kind of showed me that's who I am. I need to be in charge. So although I worked at Apple, great income, free dinner, free lunch, free housing, I was like, nope, that's not gonna work for me. And then I didn't apply for any other job, and then kept different ideas. I really didn't know much what to do. Just this country, US, was new to me. Didn't have a mentor. So that was the biggest challenge. I didn't know that I should have a mentor or I should have a coach. I thought that my engineering degree, my PhD degree is enough for me to figure out everything, which was wrong. I did figure out a lot of things. Basically, I reinvented the wheel, a lot of wheels, but that was not enough. Just one or two small mistake, that was enough to get myself into a lot of troubles.
How interesting. I come from a corporate background. I worked in operations and supply chain. I worked with a lot of engineers. I worked as an engineer in my early days as like a quality and process engineer. Also have a similar logical brain and breakdown and like things structured in that way. I found when I was in the corporate environment that specific to engineering teams, and this was very much the same whether you're a mechanical engineer, process engineer, or electrical engineer, or software engineers, that the same mind or the same person that thrives as an engineer oftentimes gets promoted into the management positions, but they're not really great managers. Like they're not people persons a lot of times. They like coding or they like designing or whatever, and they're not given the skill sets a lot of times. And so I guess to put a question in there, did you find that like when you were working for Apple and some of your other corporate, you mentioned not having a mentor. I would imagine that's a piece of it as well, because a lot of times your chain of command, your immediate manager or your boss's boss, they don't necessarily have those skills to coach you and mentor you and develop you as a person outside of their subject matter experts typically. But yeah, running a team can be quite difficult. So I would imagine that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's just a totally different skill. To be honest with you, is the opposite of engineering. Engineering is very specific. You get into one machine, in my case was a MacBook Pro, and go deep in it, power management of batteries. And then you just spend hours and hours and hours improving it, make it more efficient, make it smaller, making it cheaper. It's all working with small number of devices. And then when you go to management, then you have to manage human, which is it's just another planet, different planet, working with emotions. People are different. It has nothing to do with their technical background. People have different personality, how you talk to them, how do you interact with them, how you reward them. It's very different. And then at the time that I was there, I think that was 9 years ago, they didn't have any program to teach like these managers, directors, how to talk to people, how to manage people. It was just completely random. So I liked my manager. I didn't have problem with that. But I like 2 months ago, I called all my colleagues at Apple. A lot of them complained about that manager, my manager back in 9 years ago. I was surprised that they liked him. But yeah, as you said, like people are different. Some people like, but the manager, he didn't know how to talk to different people. Yeah.
So it sounds like you found out early on that you thrived under certain conditions. You had a certain, as you were talking about it, I was thinking like There's a certain cruising speed that cars or planes or whatever have, right? They get into this flow state or a very optimized state. It's not maximum, it's not minimum, but it's this zone. But it seems like you discovered that you have a high need for some amount of freedom, some amount of self-direction. You enjoyed teaching and being in a leadership type position. How did that? So I'm assuming after your corporate office type jobs, you then started looking for other things to do. And for you, it sounds like it was some entrepreneurial ventures that how did you go about executing that? Did you make sure you saved enough money in the bank, or did you downsize? When we transitioned, we did all of these things, but just curious about what that was like
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, I was single, so I didn't have much
Mhm.
expenses. And then just because of that, I sacrificed on my expenses, meaning that a lower, smaller studio. And then in terms of food, just the bare minimum just to survive, and then not going after healthy food.
Okay.
And then so I saved a lot on my expenses, but yeah, I was constantly looking for different ways to make money. I was doing some DoorDash delivery at the
Yep.
shop just to pay for expenses, for rent, for food and everything. But I attended a lot of events, a lot of meetups led by venture capitalists, a lot of YouTube video, a lot of not podcasts actually. At the time, I didn't know I could listen to podcasts. Now I know. But yeah, I was in Palo Alto, Menlo Park. It
Yep.
was like part of all these venture capital events. I went to Stanford. I went to a lot of events in Stanford. There was a Y Combinator. I applied. I got into the online program. I learned as much as I could. I never wasted any time. That's what I'm happy about what I did. For the past 9 or maybe 15 years, never wasted a minute. Like my whole thing was, you are great. You can do great. Just do as much as you can. But that's what I'm saying. I didn't have a one-to-one mentor to guide me to do what is the most efficient, straightforward way. I had to do all this training by myself. If I go back to 10 years ago, I would spend the same amount of time, same amount of ambition, same amount of energy, but with a one-to-one mentor or coach. That's what I would change.
It's a super important aspect of growth. We did that when we changed. When we got into land in real estate, we found a coach and a mentor in the program, and we networked as well. When we went further into commercial real estate, we did similar thing. We searched for groups and found mentors and education programs. It's really critical, as you mentioned, to going faster. How?
Especially for immigrants like myself, they are new to this country. There are a lot of stuff, like the whole general thing, how these countries' business economy work. I didn't know that. A lot of immigrants, the country that they come from, it's very different. It's structured differently from this country.
Hmm.
So you really need someone like one to one. You have some sort of problem that no one even noticed, or it's not out there in the social media or YouTube. It's specific to you and where you are coming from. You need someone just to watch you very closely. They catch those mistakes. If
Yeah.
they don't, you're going to keep repeating those
Yeah.
mistakes years and years without any results. Yeah.
When you mentioned immigrating, how old were you when you came to the US?
27.
Okay, wow. So you were an adult as you came.
Same as an adult.
So you touched on mindset. So you mentioned when you were even as an entrepreneur, you had this positive messaging. It sounds like that you were referencing. Did you have then, or do you have now, particular focal points specific for your mindset? Have a coach, or do you read or listen to particular people that have influenced you?
When I first started 9 years ago, I had the energy, extremely positive energy. I was very confident about what I could do, but I didn't necessarily, it was not structured. This is a mindset. This is what I need to know. This is what I need to believe. It was more like extremely powerful, positive energy that kind of got me to stop working for Apple or other companies and then just go on my own and then just figure out tons of millions of stuff on my own. So the energy was really high. But About the mindset, I think it was, so I've been a property manager for almost 6 years now. Started with a co-living company 6 years ago, 2 years ago, transitioned to property management company. When I transitioned to management company, I had the best property management coach in the US. I had a one-to-one session with him almost every month. That just changed everything. I had tons of questions that he responded. After 1 year, I'm like, wow, I know the answer of a lot of questions. I literally work 2 or 3 hours a day and I make like bigger salary on my property management company. It's really good. And then anything goes wrong, I know that, I notice that, I stop that. I fire my clients and I learned that if you fire your clients early on, it's much better than getting into a fight with them down the line and then lawsuit. I've been there. Don't want to do that again. If I spot a red flag, I'm out. I send them a 30 days notice. This is not going to work. You're a great client, just not a good fit for us. So yeah, that's what I learned. And that's how I learned the effect of impact of a coach. And then after being a property manager for many years, I was thinking like, why do I manage someone else's property? Maybe I should manage my own properties. And then I was looking to ownership, how to own properties. And then someone told me to basically listen to this podcast, Multifamily Mindset podcast, which has a lot about mindset. So I started listening that 3 years of podcasts. I listened to for a few months. And then so I learned a lot about mindset. Then I liked that and got into the program and then enjoyed learning a lot. That was where I started being efficient with my time. I'm like, okay, I've been in this program a few months. I'm done. My next level is to be specialized in capital raising in multifamily. And then I'm like, this program doesn't have anything to offer for capital raising. I have to seek external source exactly for capital raising for multifamily. That's where I started talking to my strategies. Hey, do you know anyone I can work for? Or coaches me one-to-one for capital raising multifamily. They're like, no, talk to this guy, talk to that guy. And then I talked to them. No one responded. And they talked to this one. I talked to a lot of people. And then finally, someone referred me to that coach. And then I approached that coach. She responded to me, accepted me. And then I'm part of her coaching program. And I'm very happy.
That's great. Back when you had a property manager coach, was that something that you sought out and you paid for externally, or was that part of a company that you were in? Or
So this is my own company. I did pay for it. I actually paid a lot of money for it. Now, what I believe in doesn't matter how much you charge. If you have question, you should hire a coach. If you have a small problem that you don't know the answer of, that a small problem is going to accumulate over time. It's going to cost you maybe $700,000 lawsuit, $700,000 loss, especially for my case in San Francisco Bay Area, which is extremely tenant friendly state. And then I have to be very careful how I talk to tenants, how I treat tenants. Yeah, law is very specific here, very serious. Yeah, I have to know what I'm doing.
I love that philosophy that it works in both directions. You can get from a coach a lesson that saves you and prevents these larger errors or issues, but you can also get a tip that multiplies. You get a little bit of benefit today, but multiply that over years. And yes, there's almost no amount of money that a good coach can be worth because of exactly those points. Yeah.
Yeah, you just mentioned good coach. So that means that you have to
Yeah.
be very.
Yeah.
My capital raising program, I've been introduced you to at least 4 or 5 people before getting to this final one. If it was my version of 9 years ago, I would have fallen into the first trap, first coach, and then boom, sign up. But yeah, you have to be very careful. You have to really, with your gut, you have to make sure that they know what they are doing. They have a track record, which opens another topic that you ask at the beginning. So find them. And this is, I think, one of the most important questions that you could ask is how many students have signed up in your program last year? Let's say that the answer is 15. So now, if ranking those students from top to bottom, let's go to in the middle, like someone who is ranked like 7 or 8, right? What was the number? Have they closed any deals? how many deals? What was the specific details about that person? If that person's result is better than where you want to be, then go for it. But if they fight, if they don't answer your question, hey, we don't have a data or we don't have numbers, all these things, probably you shouldn't sign up with that. And then, or another mentorship program that I asked 7 people, hey, what was the data? What was the statistics about your past students? They're like, oh, we don't have it. 7 people, we don't have it. We don't have it. Finally, after I just kept asking the same question, one of them told me, are you average? So that was a very clear sign. That mentorship program, there are a lot of them out there. There are a lot of them from the most famous social media person out there that they literally have less than 1% success rate. They bring thousands of students every year, less than 1% of them close one deal. Majority of them do not close deal. They don't disclose it. And those students are afraid to speak up.
Those are very valid points. We've gone through some of that as well when we're looking at different multifamily mentorship programs. There were people that they either didn't collect the data, or at least they said they didn't collect the data, or were unwilling to share. But it is important because, yeah, I've often thought this about coaching programs that, to your point, if you have 1,000 people come through, it's easy to highlight. There's going to be you're an engineering guy, right? There's a normal distribution. So you have outliers on both sides. And so it's easy to highlight these outliers that, oh, look at
right, the unicorns.
Yeah. It's exactly that. Give me what is expected of the average. Okay, I'm not expecting to be average, but at least I'll understand how people are behaving normally. Yeah, I love that. That's great. Those are some great questions. And I like the fact that Lygia and I talk about this sometimes because it is tempting to go with the first offer or the first person, or you get a marketing pitch and you think, this is great, I'm going to sign up. But it's very prudent.
Another thing I learned about social media, the louder they are on social, the less quality they have, the less technical background they have, the less success on their program is. The more quiet they are means that they're technically really good. All their focus and energy have been on operation and system. They don't know how to sell themselves. They don't know how to market. That's why no one knows about them, but they're extremely strong and powerful in terms of getting results. That's what I learned. I'm always looking for someone in the corner. No one knows about them, but they are really good. Yeah, that's what I love. Yeah.
Learn and to recognize that there are people that are better than me. There are people that have gone before me and they have success, and I can learn from them. Because I think many times that so many people really deal with the same old, their own stuff and their own patterns and their own ways of doing things. And we repeat mistakes, and the resources are out there. We just need to tap into them. And then you bring a very good point about how do we choose the right coaches, the right mentors, the right people to help us in the journey. So those two aspects I think, are vital.
Referral is very important. Like the coach that I have, she has been referred by a lot of other people. And the more I spend time getting to know to her, the more I know that how like big guys in that industry know her. I collaborate with her. And I'm so confident that just the confidence itself brings so much energy to me. That energy helps me to spend more time, do my whole work, and then it just becomes like a positive loop, and then it compounds it.
Yes.
Those are really important. I'm pretty sure we know who your current coach is, and we're good friends with her. She is very highly thought of and brings the goods. She delivers a very unique program. It's a good opportunity. Let's talk a little bit about multifamily and capital raising, or maybe it's not just multifamily, but capital raising in general. I don't know if you're specific to multifamily or looking at other asset classes, but why multifamily capital raising?
6 years ago, I started a co-living company. 2 years ago, transitioned into property management. And then a few months ago, or maybe early this year, I decided to own my own properties. And then someone told me to listen to this podcast, Multifamily Mindset. I did that. Watching or listening to this podcast taught me that the difference between single family and multifamily. Single family, you have to have down payment. You are limited to probably 10 properties because of the recourse loan. And then, so it just sucks all your money, right? Just one down payment, especially for my case in San Francisco Bay Area, it's just done. One property, two properties done. And the multifamily, because of the nature of syndication, you can use other people's money to purchase 170 units, 250 units, 150 units. It's very powerful. And it's a sales, right? It's sales. Raising capital has a nature of sales. You have to be good at sales. Me coming from 30 years of engineering background, started my company 6 years ago as a sole. My number one job was to sell, to bring clients. At the beginning, I struggled with my engineering background, didn't know anything about selling, and then how to get new clients. But I learned a lot through my mentor and through different resources. But I'm still passionate about sales. I'm still passionate about sales. I really want to master sales. And then getting into capital multifamily, I also learned that the fastest way to get into a deal is through capital raising. You have other fields like underwriting, which is again another engineering job. You have to sit and then run all those numbers with your Excel sheet. And you have asset management. Although I have property management background, usually they don't give asset management role to the first time or newbies students. So I have to be into a few deals. But yeah, sales was good. And then, yeah, that was the reason that I got into capital raising. I really want to learn sales. Coming from engineering background, it's very different. It's just so different. It comes back to what you said about your management. You have to know human, how to talk to human. So sales teaches you how to talk to human, how to lead a conversation, and then basically make it win, give people what they want and get what you want. Yeah, I like that. I've been more toward the introvert side, ambivalent side for my life. I like to explore the extrovert side.
Yeah, it's very psychological and emotional, this sales process. We buy, for the most part, emotionally. Are you focused on avatar, as they call them, or in your capital raising? Are you looking at, you mentioned calling all your ex-Apple. Is there a tech connection in your capital raising?
Yeah, my avatars are engineers, my software engineer, mechanical, electrical engineers. They are like myself, extremely logical. You have to respect them in conversation. You have to spend a lot of time explaining everything, all the details about the economy, about the return, about the terms, about the life. It's just never ends.
It's
And
true.
then, but yeah, I think I understand them. Most of my friends are engineers. I think I am an engineer. My brain works like an engineer. I can spend time and explain them everything that they need. But it's very hard to convince them. Engineers are hard to convince them. But yeah, for now, I'm not sticking with that. But for now, yes, engineers. Yeah.
Very nice. Tell us a little bit about your multifamily focus. Are you looking in particular markets? Are you looking primarily just for particular partners, or how are you going about partnering on your deals?
So I've identified a great sponsor 2 months ago that I like, again, through a lot of referrals and past performance and record. He had a deal in Lubbock, Texas that I tried to raise capital for him. So I'm going to stick with him. And also I'm keep it open for other sponsors. Great operator. Really depends on where they want to be. They are usually in emerging markets. It's like Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma, Georgia. These are the main hot states that the sponsors are focusing on. Yeah. So yeah, when I'm ready to raise capital, I'm going to approach these sponsors, ask them, hey, let them know that I'm ready. If they have any deal, I'm going to go through the deal, through the underwriting. If I like the underwriting and think that it's a good deal for me, then I'm going to basically let my investor know that this is the deal. Let's invest. Yeah.
Are you, being a very engineering and structured minded person, how are you going about gaining your investors? It sounds like you're not quite plugged into to pulling the trigger on raising capital. So I guess you're growing your investor base, and probably there's a certain amount of education that goes along with, at least when we started, it was very much about our connections on what exactly is multifamily investing and all of that. Is that a similar process for you?
Yeah. So I'm learning basically lead magnet, how to create a lead magnet, how to educate them either with conversation over phone, or through emails, and then also like finding new investors. Is it in person? If it's in person, what am I going to do? Am I going to go to local meetup? I have also my own meetup that I'm looking for a bigger place to host. If it's social media, all of these routes, it comes with a lot of information. If it's social media, what kind of social media? Instagram is different from Facebook. Facebook is different from LinkedIn. LinkedIn is different from Twitter. Am I going to focus on one thing, or I'm going to take two or three of them at the same time? If it's one thing, if it's LinkedIn, what it takes to be successful in LinkedIn, how many posts a day, how many posts a week, what are other things that I need to do on LinkedIn, how to polish my profile, what are the things that I need to put on my profile? Do I need to message them? If I need to message them, what should I say? If they respond, what should I say? So there are a lot of things that comes with each round. Yeah.
Definitely. It's like you've got them all working. I love it. That's great. Naeem, for anybody that has listened and is interested to hear more, what's the best way to get in touch with you and to learn a bit more?
Yeah, I would love, usually these days, I'm very active on LinkedIn. I post every day on LinkedIn. So if you Google my name, Naeem Farokhnia, my LinkedIn page is going to pop up. Send a connection request. I will accept it. Then send a message. Hey, increase my wealth. Very simple, but it's going to work. Very powerful, very effective. It's going to work. Also, I'm happy to accept your friend request on Facebook. Same thing, Naeem Farokhnia. Google it and then friend with Facebook. Yeah, happy to chat. My email also, I think, is Naeem at themultifamilyholdings.com. Says but holdings.com. Yeah.
Okay, we'll put those in the show notes as well for anybody that wants to see the links to your social profiles and your website to make sure that they can get in touch with you. Yeah, this has been great. I love your journey. I love to hear how you've reinvented yourself and you're exploring growth, personal growth and professional growth, and just you're a seeker. You're out there seeking knowledge and growth and all of that. I think that resonates with a lot of people, and real estate is super powerful to help circle back to the beginning. It really helps deliver on freedom in life. I think it's a powerful way to gain the freedoms of money, but also of time, which is wonderful.
Thank
So
you very much. I appreciate your time. I'm glad that I came to your podcast. Hope your audience, viewer enjoyed it.
yeah, likewise.
Yes, likewise. Thank you.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
For those of you joining us today, we hope you enjoyed this time in the Champions Corner as much as we did. Got some awesome takeaways, and most importantly, will take action to continue living your best life and maximizing your potential. Mindset is such an important aspect of life, and when coupled with action, delivers undeniably powerful results.
Please subscribe to the podcast to hear from more great guests and get the latest mindset mastery insights and cash flow matchups.
Again, thank you so much for investing your time with us, and we look forward to seeing you next time on the Cashflow Fight Club podcast.